I'd like to tell you a story about an experience I had in where was it? In town. Oh, oh, no, not Pan Ridge. It was Escalante. Escalante. But in order to do it, I've got to read it because it's too integral to just tell. So I'll just go ahead and start reading. It was a beautiful day, one of those days that make you want to drive and look at the scenery forever. The spring air was just a little crisp, but you couldn't feel anything but the rays of the sun soaking into your very soul. On this day, the Red Rock Foundation were redder and the green trees were even greener than any other time. I had left Panguitch just 30 minutes before and was just pulling into Escalante. This is a city where where our base office for the Challenger Foundation is located. I had been there many times before and had met some of the people, but had always wanted to get to know more about how the people live. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean. All the people act the same on first meeting, but when you get into their real lives, you find out what they really are like. Escalante looks like many of the towns in the immediate vicinity. It had a main street which looked like it had been cut out of the 1860s with a flattering of more modern construction. If every now there was a hotel which looked like it had been used for 30 or so years, and next to it was a motel that looked like it was built in the 40s and hadn't been upgraded since. Across the street from the hotel was a restaurant that I'm sure was there during the Civil War, called the Circle C Cafe. It appeared to be well used, as I saw many a person going into the facility. They seemed to have one thing in common. They were all male and all cowboys. I don't mean those wannabe cowboys you see in and around the city. I mean they looked like they just walked off the set of Gunsmoke. I got there early, had plenty of time, and was very hungry. So I decided this would be a good time, have plenty of opportunity to get to know what these people were really like, not just look like. I was already getting into the feel of the community and strolled across the street to the Circle C Cafe for a bite to eat. It was a little dark when I got there, so I had to stop just inside the door to let my eyes adjust. Once I could see, it was obvious that no one was putting out much money for electricity, or there wasn't enough light in that room to light up a rat cage, let alone this uh, rather large dining hall. About the time I began to make it toward a vacant table, I heard a female voice drawl out, "Can I help you, honey?" I told her I was looking for a table. She began to take me to a table near the register when I saw a group of local boys sitting in the back corner. I quickly asked her if I could sit near them, pointing toward the men gathered at the 2 tables for their daily bull session. She said, "Look, sweetie, if you want to sit over there, you do so at your own risk." I could understand what she meant much better when I got near their table and one of the boys yelled out, "Hey, Bunny," speaking to the waiter who was at the table. "I saved a seat for you." While making the invitation, he turned his chair out toward her, gestured to his lap. She replied in a firm, not disrespectful, but more a teasing voice, learned from many years of having to deal with this kind of rabble. She said, "Not on your life, Freddie. I get more out of washing dishes." The old boy laughed as if this woman, whose tenderness had long since worn off, and Freddie had at one time been an item. I gave her my order and she left for the kitchen. There was one commonality with these old boys. They were all old. I think young in that group would have been 60. The one sitting nearest me was tall and raw boned. He took his hat off, which left his hair matted down and encircled with a hat ring. His skin was wrinkled and leathery. I itch my nose. His boots were worn and scuffed as though he had walked on the tops as much as the soles. His jeans were faded and worn and were frayed at the pockets. His shirt was red plaid and was buttoned at the wrist, while his neck button was open, exposing his chicken skin neck, while the others were razzing, I should say, each other and horsing around. He remained quiet. Whenever he did speak, however, all eyes were on him and he was given a respect much greater than the others were afforded. They called him Clutch. When they finally settled into what they were there for, it became interesting. I felt I was in a world that was supposed to be extinct by now. I didn't even recognize some of their language. I must take a break because I'm running out of Jew-hoos. So hold on just a minute. Sorry about that. This dang thing won't shut off until I get the juice plugged in. I was running off the battery. Sorry. Yeah. is wrong? Oh, that's what's wrong. Just plug something in. There. Wahoo. Mountain Dew. You got a sweaty shoe. Now everything else went to heck in a hand basket. Come back. I'm not really positive, but I think I am. I didn't ever say I was off, so I'm going to take that as a yes. Okay. When it was time to get serious about things, Clutch turned square to the table and looked across at a man that looked about his age, whose nose looked an overripe strawberry. His eyes were bloodshot, and he had almost pure white hair. Other than that, he was dressed very much the same as Clutch. Finally, Clutch spoke. Jed, you got to get them some being sway bellies of yours off in my range. Clutch, you know darn well that cows can't make it up and on Sanders Flat. Shite, just last Friday, I was up there and found 4 of my best cows teaked up. Just then, a little scrawny poke at the other table spoke up without moving his jaw at all and speaking out of a broken front tooth, said, Clutch, you know darn well what the unspoken rule of the range is. If a rancher ain't got water, he's got a right to the nearest water he can find for his stock so they won't thirst to death. With that being said, Clutch very slowly sank back into his chair and let out a long sigh and said, These are tough times, boys. And Jed, you're welcome to the water anytime. The scrawny man was known as Penn, short for Penny, spoken up again and said, Boys, it is a pretty hard year, but I have plenty of good spring water, and Joe here has a water truck, and he has already said it's here for any poke that needs water for his stock. Clutch spoke again, this time with a much softer voice. Boys, if we work together, we'll see these hard times pass. But if we don't, we'll see some of us go under. Just then, Joe, the owner of the water truck, with a tattered gold belt buckle tucked under his gut, which he didn't seem, he hadn't seen for years, said, "I think that's the way we all have to see it. It's either all of us or none of us." At that, as though they had just closed with prayer, they all stood up and walked out. All they had was coffee and smokes and a 20-minute conversation, and they were gone. I finally looked down at the roast beef and mashed potatoes that I had been served 20 minutes earlier, stared at it, a while, paid Mabel at the register, and left. I was in awe at the piece of past that had just played itself out in front of my own eyes. I walked out of the Circle C fully expecting to see horses, buggies, and wagons instead of cars. But there she was, my little red Chevy. As I finally drove into Utah County, it was obvious that it indeed was 1990.